Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Duolingo. It is time for another update. Also, one of the viewers actually requested an update, so I wanted to let you know that anyone can make these requests and I will most likely cover them, especially if there is an actionable trade setup to follow. Now, in the case of this chart today, we will be discussing the repercussions of this sharp decline that we witnessed yesterday to the downside. Yeah, we actually opened quite deep below. And from a large time frame perspective, we now have to formally remove the white interpretation. This is no longer a valid scenario that we can be tracking for a further extension higher, where in this white interpretation we were still looking to push higher within a larger leading diagonal in a wave 1, and it isn't the case anymore. We clearly broke all relevant support for such an interpretation, and we need to resume to the yellow interpretation where we already have a wave 1 complete. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4th and a 5th. No problem. This is already a good initial 5-wave structure to the upside. It is within a leading diagonal, but it can work out for a 1-2 setup where in the wave 2 we are looking for a 3-wave correction to the downside. And we are expecting to find support in the area between the $235.6 all the way down to the $97 level at the 78.6% retracement. So far so good. We are still in the upper area of the support zone, and we do have the possibility of forming a bottom within relatively short amount of time and short amount of waves. We don't need too much actually at this point to consider a full count here within a wave 2, but we will discuss about that in a moment. Now, I wanted to point out that even though in the white scenario we don't necessarily have the support zone to track the idea of a continuation higher anymore, I believe at this point I do actually prefer the idea that I came up with in the last video for this extension, where the wave A instead bottomed here instead of what we had in the yellow scenario here in an ABC pattern. And in that case, I would like to switch this yellow correction that we have been tracking to what we have here in white. It could still be the case that the yellow interpretation is the correct one, but at this point I think this other interpretation does fit better, where we have the wave B top here, and now we are tracking a singular wave C to the downside, where we are expecting to form a 5-wave structure. And in the previous video we were looking for possible areas that should signal us if we manage to break above them. The 61.8% retracement here at the $309 level would have signaled to us that the movement to the downside is probably over. Well, that is no longer the case clearly. I just wanted to point out where we left off. But in this case, I need to find a 5-wave structure to the downside to have a possible completion here within the wave C, and I have a couple of options. So I could consider this movement to the downside as an impulse or as a leading diagonal, or not the leading diagonal, an ending diagonal within a wave C. The wave C can be either of them, but it must have a larger 5-wave structure overall. And in that case, the options really are either that we have here a series of 1-2 setups in this area, and then this as a third, and this third wave I believe is still ongoing most likely, or I could argue that this is a wave 1 in an ABC. This could be in the case of the diagonal pattern, then this would be a 2, a third that is ongoing right now, and then we only need a 4th and a 5th once this third wave is complete to complete the larger pattern here in the wave 2. Now, if we really are within an impulse, we should actually see several 4-5 patterns to the downside. I just wanted to point out possibilities where we don't necessarily need that many lows to form an actual bottom. Now, before we get here into the shorter time frame, I wanted to point out quickly an ideal target for this wave C to the downside is the 100% extension of the wave A, and in this case it is at around the $167 level. Now keep in mind, this is an ideal target. We don't need to get there and we don't need to stop there to have a complete correction, but at this point it seems likely that we will, especially if this is indeed an ABC pattern instead of something like a WXY, which technically it is still possible, but as long as we hold below certain areas of resistance, I do still prefer lower prices. Now, internally here, what I am tracking is this 1, 2, 3, 4th, and the 5th to still be ongoing. And in that case, we can actually even add a small count in this area. And for this wave 4, I'm looking to find resistance at the levels between the $199.4 all the way up to the $221 level at the 50% retracement, where if we manage to break above that, well, we could shift it ever so slightly higher. But honestly, if we manage to break above the $221 level, it is extremely likely that this movement to the downside, this larger wave C, is probably not going to end up as an impulse down, okay? And in that case, we can be looking for further resistance higher. Yeah, there will still be resistance ahead, but in that case, we will only be expecting one additional 4-5 pattern once this movement is complete, right? Now, in this case, I would also like to add a larger pattern here in this area of a 1, 2, 3, 4th, and a 5th. This is the larger internal wave tree in a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. But yeah, then we still need a couple of 4, 5, remember. And then I would like to make this a higher degree. But I also wanted to point out the possibility of this being an ABC pattern within the larger wave tree to the downside. And we will be tracking this in the orange interpretation. And in that case, we can be looking for resistance quite considerably higher actually, and it would be between the $207.9 all the way up to the $259 level. And if we manage to actually break here above the 61.8% retracement, well, there are very good chances that this entire correction would actually be complete, where I would likely be able to track this entire pattern as a WXY instead. And yeah, we would have internally an ABC here that should be done, and we should be looking already for an initial 5-wave structure to the upside for an initial larger wave 1, and yeah, most likely a bottom in that case in the wave 2. But again, we are still below resistance. We haven't even reached the resistance areas. So the pressure is still down. It is extremely likely that we will continue lower. I just wanted to point out the relevant levels to watch out for that would indicate different ideas of what we should be tracking. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.